You've counted every calorie, tried every diet, spent hours in the gym, and still something's missing. You want more than just weight loss. You want your energy back. You want your confidence restored. You want a way of living that doesn't feel like punishment. Welcome to Master Your Metabolism, where we cut through the noise, ditch the fads, and give you a real plan to become the healthiest, strongest version of you. Hosted by our team of expert coaches with proven strategies, science-based tips, and real-life encouragement, not just to help you lose fat, but actually create that lifestyle that you love. You've tried everything. Now, let's try what actually works. This is your turning point. Let's go. Hey there, everybody. Welcome to Master Your Metabolism. I'm here with our team. We're just missing a couple, but I have Amanda, Whitney, David, and of course, Calvin. And to start off, let's chat about how everybody's week has been so far, being Tuesday. Amanda, how's your week going?
It's new and exciting.
Bit of a struggle, but just getting through it, doing what I got to do.
Awesome. And Whitney, starting a new position, starting some new training sessions with people. So
Yeah, it's been busy getting used to everything. It's a big adjustment for all of us, but it's been pretty good.
Yeah.
It's nice to get out of the house a little more sometimes.
Yeah. And the kids are there, or no, just your daughter's there?
No, they're at the house. So usually
daycare there?
I can do that, but I'm kind of saving it for like when I need it, because then I can't actually use that for the workouts. So
Perfect.
Priorities.
Oh, all is good. I joined a new gym a couple weeks ago.
Oh,
I know. I'm a member of two gyms now. So yes, building a new community at 5 a.m. of people on the South Shore of Boston is very different than the western suburbs of Boston. So think Boston accent further south. So think Boston accent.
Where did you park the car?
To like the millionth degree. And Brazzy.
Yeah, he wants to be on the podcast with us. So I'm curious though, what made you decide to get the second gym membership? Was it the atmosphere of the gym? Was it better equipment? Was it just a different crowd of people? You were just tired. You just wanted options. Like, what was the goal to do it?
Closer. Driving a half an hour at 4 a.m. versus 11 minutes at 4:40 in the morning is a little better. But I'm still a member of my original gym because the community there is amazing.
Yeah, that one is pretty unique.
It's special. It's a special place. And this new one is interesting. It's big, really big. And they're moving in a month a little bit closer to me. So even better. So I want to still go to both because I have a foot in the old community and now a foot in the new community. So it's been fun.
It's weird. It's weird sometimes leaving a gym,
Yeah.
Because you make all the friends. It's almost like you're breaking up, like you're actually seeing another gym right now.
I am. And,
do they know about this? Did they inquire about it?
No. He knows. He actually, I posted a story on my Instagram account for the original gym. And he gave me a little heart for that. So
yeah.
Still a special place. Still a special place in my heart.
Still love there.
Yeah.
As long as you keep the membership.
Yeah. Keep the money coming in. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, some gyms are worth it, even if you go once a week. Just to
exactly.
Yeah. Well, you think
that's my weekend gym now.
I mean, aside from work, what other place are you going to every day that you actually spend time at and you want to enjoy it? So it's
just this lovely room here.
I know.
Yeah.
So,
and Calvin, your week, it's been great.
I'm going to try not to be the grouchy old man, but I'm fighting off the flu still. I'm actually past probably week 3 at this point, but I think I'm finally coming out of it. So a little bit cloudy. So if I say some things that don't make sense today, just kind of brush that off as Calvin's still sick.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Glad you're feeling better. That's the worst.
Yeah.
It really is.
Brooke, how's your week been? Nobody's asked you.
Yeah.
My week has been trying to walk away from Calvin and not get coughed on so I can stay healthy. That was my job this week.
Which
so I made it. I did it.
Much easier to say than done, for sure.
No karaoke this week?
No karaoke
this week.
No,
All right.
we'll save
So
that
we're
for
going to
another
jump.
podcast.
Yeah, we're going to jump right into it. So I thought a really good topic today because I've been hearing from a lot of people and asking, like, do I really need to track what I'm eating in order to reach my goals? So I kind of wanted to open it up because there are many different ways to look at this, many different applications. So I wanted us to each give like a perspective on tracking food and what that means when you have a goal or you're trying to do something or accomplish something. So,
Yeah.
Amanda, I'm going to go ahead and open that up for you first.
Sure. Yeah. So I started tracking macros while I was losing the 100 pounds way before I met Calvin and Brooke. Obviously, once I met them, I really started to understand it a lot better. But the concept of tracking macros seems restrictive when you're used to living your life unlimited. So for me, I would go to Dunkin' Donuts for breakfast, get a culotta and a muffin, and then a full pizza for lunch, some McDonald's for dinner. And then you move to tracking and you're like, wow, this is super restrictive and I'm not allowed to eat anything and it's making food not fun. Well, it has to be a little not fun for you to kind of rein in from an unlimited world. So I'm speaking about people who are trying to lose weight, large amounts of weight, who have very poor eating habits, who are eating mostly fast food, high fat, high carb food, highly processed food. That is the world that I came from. And when I first started, I had a very rudimentary understanding of what I was supposed to be eating to lose weight. I thought it was just going to be like broccoli and grilled chicken and a protein shake. And the reason macros is so effective is because it really does break it down in a broad sense. So if you look at all of your food being broken down between proteins, carbs, fats, and then you have your calories as all of those together, and that's what you're looking at, it gives you something to pay attention to, something to guide how you're eating, because I'm going to eat healthier and lose 50 pounds sounds really simple, but it's not. You need some sort of guideline. And if you don't know anything about nutrition, like I didn't, having that guideline allowed me to lose weight while getting the right nutrition and the right nutrients. So, the thing that I talk to my clients about when it comes to macro tracking is if you're coming from a world where you ate everything under the sun, like I did, I want you to think about it like you just filed for bankruptcy. Okay. And you have no money left because you spent it all. It's all in credit cards and loans, and you have nothing, right? You need to have a budget to get yourself back on track. And people who say, no, I don't need a budget, usually don't have lots of money, because it's almost impossible for us to just have some sort of running tally of how much we're spending without knowing what our expenses are and what they cost us. So things that are staples and happen every day, like your rent and your power and your cell phone bill, that has to be accounted for, right? So it's the same concept with macros. So the analogy I give people is like, remember when you were a kid and you used to go to the mall, or you heard of somebody who used to go to the mall when you were a kid, and your parents gave you $100. They're really generous parents, right? And you're now at the mall and you have the opportunity to buy 10 pairs of shorts and 3 t-shirts from this one store that's kind of cheap, but they have cute stuff, or 1 pair of jeans, right? So this is your macro friendly day. This is your McDonald's cheeseburger and fries. Do you want to spend everything you have on that cheeseburger and fries? Or do you want a bunch of different things? Most people want a bunch of different things when they're dieting because they're hungry. They're trying to get the most they can for their money. So using macros allows you to have some understanding, some framework around what you can eat, how much you can eat. Because before I started counting macros, especially with carbs, I'm a carb heavy person. I thought a portion of pasta was the giant bowl that they bring you at the Italian restaurant, not this much pasta. And that's probably why I was 250 pounds. So,
Yeah.
when it comes to the macros, like they may seem restrictive, but you're learning a new skill. So, you need to be able to use something to help you master that skill. I have now been doing this for almost 10 years. Can I live my life without tracking and be pretty close to my macros? Yes, I can, because I've been practicing for 10 years. But when I first started, I had no idea what I was doing and I needed to stay within the lines. So if you're looking to make a change in the way that you do something, this is like training wheels. Eventually,
Yep.
you will ride your bike two wheels and be great at it. But in the beginning, you need some framework, some guideline to show you when you're going way out of control or when you're under eating. So, what I always tell my clients is it a life sentence to tracking macros? No. But is it a tool that will always be available to you? Once you have the knowledge, you can apply that wherever, whenever you want. And that's the great part of it. So, that's kind of my take on macros.
Yeah. I like it. And, it's true. It's like a skill. And like now I've gotten to a point that I'm doing it so long that I can look at the plate and I'm know, well, that's about 3 ounces of chicken. It's about this much protein. There's some sweet potato there. I know it's about 25 grams of carbs. Like you can look at it and just know, because all of us here have been tracking long enough that we can pretty much know what we need to maintain. And that's another point that I know I've talked to Calvin about is when you're maintaining and you kind of know how full you are after each meal, you kind of know the foods that you eat. It's easy to maintain because you've learned how to track. You're not in a fat loss phase. You're just kind of trying to stay the same. As long as you eat and you don't like go banana somewhere, you'll probably stay where you are. But it's really that point, I think, either when you're a beginner or if you want to really start losing weight and losing body fat, you have to be in a deficit. And it's really hard, even seasoned people that like, I know my macros, but if I'm not counting, it's hard because you can have a little bit here, a little bit there. And before you know it, that's 200 calories and you are no longer in a deficit. So you do look at it kind of over the week. But Calvin, I wanted you to kind of chat a little bit about macros and how you
I'm
see
going to
it.
do my best not to go off in a big rant on this one because this is kind of a sore spot with me. Because over the years, I've been in this game for a long time, longer than I care to mention right now. And I've seen it all, and I'll tell you that nowadays it's like if you just go on the internet, you're going to hear so many different things about this. Like everybody's got an opinion. They're saying some people will tell you don't need to track, you just need to eat healthy, balanced foods. There's logic to that, but that's not the end all answer either. And then some people are going to tell you just got to pull carbs. And then some people are going to tell you just got to pull fats. Nowadays, that some people are going to tell you just eat protein. And if you do all these and you're going to hit that goal and hit that goal, it's the problem is there's a lot of different versions to get from point A to point B that will work for a short period of time, but your body does adapt. It does change, no matter what you do, it will adapt to it. So in most cases, just to kind of break it down, because for somebody that's trying to go on a weight loss journey and they go on to Instagram and they follow a certain influencer, they're going to hear what that person has to say and they're going to end up following maybe what that person says. But the important thing to understand is that all of it works until it doesn't. And it just depends on where you are at the time and what your body actually needs. So to look at it in the big picture, say somebody's coming in, got to lose 100 pounds, and say they've never tracked before, is their first time going into a weight loss phase, attempting to do it. Realistically, the first thing that they should really do is keep it as simple as possible. Let's find the low hanging fruit. Let's pull out the sugars. Are you drinking soda? Let's pull the sodas out. Let's increase the water. Let's get the foundation built of what it takes to actually start having your body perform better, but also start to drop in weight with just making as little change as possible. You check your sleep, maybe start moving some more. Those things is a first logical step. Does it take tracking? No. This is more just removing the bad apples out of your day. So that would be the first step. So in that case, no, you don't need to track at that point. The next step would be to take it to the next level, maybe just follow one macro, like protein. Let's prioritize protein and just shoot for your protein goal and work on that until you nail it. And then gradually you work over to carbs, and then fats usually being last with that. So what you are gradually doing is setting yourself up to actually start tracking food. Now, does that mean you can't make very good progress in the beginning without tracking? Absolutely not. You can make great progress, but it also depends on where you're coming from what your goal is, probably not. And so where you're coming from, what your goal is, and is your body in a place that that's that simple. But it will come a time that you're going to need to dial things in, depending on if you want to keep moving forward. So, taking like a competitor into consideration, they have to track food, period. Nobody is going to get in competition stage lean without tracking food. I don't care who you are. They have to do it. So that being said, this is not different for the rest of the population, in the sense that if you have a specific goal and you have a specific look that you want to achieve, you must learn to manage your food through some form of tracking. You just need to. So it seems like a lot for somebody, like Amanda said, that you come from a place of not tracking. So it seems very much like work, and seems, like you just kind of lose the enjoyment of it. But you have to look at it as learning a new skill and understanding that change is what is required to make change from what you're used to. So you can do it at your own pace. Given this is not doctor's orders and you're morbidly obese, you can do it at your own pace and start with the low hanging fruit and slowly work your way towards that. But ultimately, to find the balance is, for example, I can tell you, I can keep somebody's calories exactly the same, and I can take and switch the balance of the carbs and the fats and the protein, same calories, but I can get their weight to have big drops from that one simple change with keeping the calories the same. So that shows you how much impact macros actually do have on weight loss, because it goes far beyond just calories itself. So it really depends on the person. You have to consider your hormones and all these things. So that being said, knowing how to do that and how to manipulate and understand your body is only going to be done through experience of tracking and learning those things. So otherwise, you're kind of going to fall to a victim of crash diets and just kind of doing what the masses are doing, are relying on something like a peptide to lose the weight. But if you're not tracking and managing your food, you should not be touching a peptide to lose weight. That does not end well. It's very important to know how to manage your food, more so if you're on a peptide, because of the damage that can be caused if you misuse it. So there is no real pill to fix that, if longevity and health is your goal. So do you need to track? At some point, yes. At some point you do.
Yeah. And David, I know you travel a lot and you have been in this macro game for a minute.
Yeah,
So I just want you to share a bit about how you do things and
sure. So I just wanted to refer back to Amanda's comment about the mall, and my head went to Chess King right away.
yeah, what that is.
Only some people remember what Chess King was, but you got a lot for little, and it wasn't great. For me, I've been tracking macros now for 5.5 years, and it's not intuitive at first. But when I travel, I have a sense of, I know what my macros are, but I have a sense that I can now look at food, much like Brooke was talking about. She can look at food and say, that's 3 ounces of chicken. The interesting thing is I can do the same thing because I've been doing it so long. The interesting thing is that even though I've been doing it so long, if I have chicken versus steak, right, they're very different macros. And so I could say, well, I'm going to have a 4-ounce filet versus a 4-ounce piece of chicken. The macros are very different. And so things will look different. And so what I then have to do is say, okay, we're going to have the steak, but I'm going to have something with less fat in it at some other point in the day. Right. So I'm able to do that trade-off only because I've been doing it for so long.
Yeah.
And do I always get it right? No, absolutely not. But travel brings its own challenges with it. You're not in your own space. You probably are either under-eating or overeating, depending on your schedule. When I travel for work, my schedule is clearly not my own. And I get food when I can get food. And what I do is I supplement with bringing protein powder, or a meal replacement shake powder, or I'll bring like a protein bar. Some are better than others, but I know going into the travel that I'm going to do the best I can, not beat myself up because I'm either under or over. And then I'm going to try to eat as intuitively as possible, eat as clean as possible, knowing that I'm not in control of, if I'm at a conference, what the conference services folks are going to serve. But I look at it, I take a moment, I put some thought into it, but I also don't want to be restrictive. I don't want to say, well, I can't have that. But
Yeah, but of course,
do.
right
Go ahead.
now, I don't think that you're in like a deficit, right? If you
No.
were in a fat loss phase,
Yeah.
that's the difference also is that if you're trying to maintain, you maintain and you're being mindful, and chances are you're going to
Yeah.
stay so you don't go off the rails. But a fat loss phase when traveling is tough, because you can't account for things like that. So
Yeah,
good point.
when I competed and I was in competition prep, I brought all my food with me, even when I traveled for work. To Calvin's point, you're not getting on stage if you're not tracking your food. Now that I'm not competing and I'm in maintenance mode or I'm trying to bulk a little bit more food is okay. It's not going to kill me. I'm not in comp prep mode. That's a very, very different mindset.
For sure.
Being in comp prep mode. And so you do have a little bit of leeway with your food and you have the ability to make those choices. But I would also suggest and I would also suggest that when you make those choices, don't go into it and beat yourself up afterwards. When I'm traveling for work, I know I'm going to eat out at a restaurant. I know the next day, if there's a scale somewhere in the hotel that I'm staying at, my weight's probably going to go up because of the sodium. So I drink more water. I drink plenty of water, sometimes a little too much for when I need to go to the bathroom during meetings. But the point is drinking water is also going to make me feel a little bit more satiated. So if I'm in a fat loss phase, drinking the water versus eating the potato chips or whatever it is that they're putting out there, because they're not putting out very healthy food. They're just putting out food that they can make quickly, that is easy, like a sandwich or whatever it is.
And cheap.
Drink, yeah, cheap. A lot of times processed food. Drink more water. That really has helped me a lot. Is drinking of water, but don't beat yourself up over a choice for food. One meal is not going to make a difference.
Absolutely, absolutely. And like Wit, I know you work with a lot of moms and, new moms too that are trying to do it. And the thought of like new moms, I remember when the kids were little, like the thought of
Yeah.
tracking food, like there's no freaking way.
Yeah.
Like I would love to hear from you of what you do with some of these moms that are just starting out and also to understand macros and the purpose when you maybe are trying to lose that baby weight
Yeah.
and get back to feeling yourself.
Yeah. And, that's exactly. And I've had moms that I've worked with that just the thought of tracking macros was just way too overwhelming. So, kind of along the lines of what's already been said, like you start where you're at, you take a look at your day. And if you're not quite ready, one of the tools that I've used for clients is like, we'll just make a list of what your meals look like. And rather than counting numbers, I want you to practice putting together meals. And I do like a portion size where you can use your hand as reference. So a palm size of protein, a thumb size of fat, and then a fist size of carbs, and then half your plate of veggies, and start there. And you can have as many meals as you want, because a lot of times, especially if you're, new moms tend to grab whatever is around. So you're getting a lot of processed foods, possibly some really high sugar foods, just whatever you can get your hands on. And sometimes even just learning how to put together a very simple meal with all of the macros. We're not tracking them, but that's essentially what we're doing. You see a lot of progress with just something that simple. And then we make a list because, again, like it goes back to what Amanda said, like you don't realize how much you're eating. So if you can find a simpler way to put it down, without maybe necessarily counting everything and putting it into a tracker, just write it down or type it out. That's a more simple way to kind of keep track without the overwhelming, time consuming nature that tracking macros can be, and then essentially once they get to a point, back to kind of what Calvin said, you have to decide, are you content with where you're at? Do you want to lose more? You're going to get to that point where you kind of need to keep better track of what you're consuming. And then we can take those more simple methods of, how to build your meals, what healthier meals look like, what a protein forward meal looks like versus, maybe just like cheese and crackers, then we can kind of start introducing like, well, just track your protein. Start introducing carbs, start introducing fats, or even just calories and protein. And then you fill in the blanks from there. So it's kind of taking baby steps, and me personally, I haven't tracked macros for very long, really, since I've been with you guys. I would occasionally, if I wanted to lose weight, I'd, get a MyFitnessPal and keep track for a couple days, and then I know what it looks like. But I was also, when I was younger, fairly content with where I was. And I knew a lot about nutrition even then, to where I could take a look at what a couple days look like and kind of emulate those days and eat the exact same thing because I was used to it. So even if, and this has been said too, but like once you sort of get a good handle on what your macros would look like when you're at a weight that you're comfortable with, you can ease out of it very easily. But again, since I've been tracking macros, and this is important too, I have been in a significantly better shape than I was at any point when I was just sort of eating intuitively. So it all kind of, I think, goes back to your goals too. Do you want to build muscle, really lose fat, and hone in on making that muscle show? Do you want to get the most out of cutting your calories, cutting your body fat? Tracking macros is really the best way to go about doing it. And so any of the steps that you can take to get there is going to help you get the best results. And if that's what you're looking for, you're going to need to track eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think macros also, like, I like that point that you said, because when you're trying to, if your goal is to tone, you have to put on the muscle in order to do that. So getting your calories to a place that you're at your maintenance, and you only really know that if you've been tracking and know where your maintenance calories are, that is basically just your basal metabolic rate plus your activity, and you're maintaining your body weight. That's your maintenance calories. It's very simple. And if you're, were you going to say something, Calvin? I saw your lips.
No, go ahead.
So, if you're maintaining and that's where you are and you can push your calories up even a little higher, it's going to be very easy to put on muscle. So that way, when you do go into a deficit, you don't want to drop to the bottom. Like, why would you have to go and starve yourself when you know that you could just drop a few hundred calories, still be in a place that you're not starving, and you're still able to maintain your muscle mass because you have adequate protein, so that when you do diet down, a lot of people, and with these weight loss drugs too, Calvin had mentioned, because when you're dropping your calories that low, you're not eating adequate protein. Now you're losing weight, but you're losing a lot of muscle mass, and you don't want that on the tail end, because then you're just going to look like a kind of shriveled up, skinnier version of yourself.
And bones.
Yeah.
So, it depends on the look that you're going for.
Yeah. And another thing too, especially since you talked about like coming back up to maintenance, like being able to track your macros and do a proper reverse diet up to your maintenance, it's a much better way than just starting to eat your maintenance.
Yep. Yep.
Or what you would consider. Because again, like and we've all been through it, like you don't have to gain a ton of weight while you're increasing your calories. But the only way to really do that is through tracking your macros and doing it slowly and getting there and making sure that your macro distribution is in a good place.
Yeah. So, I mean, you brought up a lot of interesting points, Whitney, and I was going to touch on that too a little bit, because the main thing with that is that she's still tracking, even with the way that she was explaining it. Even though you're not tracking numbers per se, you're tracking portion sizes. So the common theme really is structure. And
Yes.
that's kind of the baseline of all of this. So it's to have structure with your food. You manage it, like you manage anything else. Managing food is one of the most important things you can do in your life, to be honest with you,
So
because
important.
without your health, you have nothing.
Yep.
But this also gives you the ability to adjust and be the way that you want to be. If whatever the reason is, if you're sick or, hormones are off, weight loss, weight gain, anything, to have that ability to be able to adjust that has to be learned through tracking food, so It's not something that should be overwhelming. If you kind of take the techniques like Whitney was talking about, and just work your way into it, you're going to get great results from that. And you may hit that goal that you have been looking for just by doing that simply. And if you do, then that's great. That's perfect. But it does, if you do want to advance past that, then tracking and actually knowing the numbers and knowing what certain things look like in terms of, carbs and fats and proteins is going to be pretty critical, for that. And it's also useful to understand, like with hormone health, like what the different macros actually do, to understand the reasoning why you want to track these macros. So especially for women going through menopause or any type of hormonal dysfunction, this is where macros really, really are important, making sure that you get enough fat and what type of fats are they, big thing. What kind of carbs are you getting? These things have a very big role in healing your body as well, aside from the weight loss and weight gain, big roles. So there's a lot of other benefits to it aside from just body composition. So it is, in my opinion, this is something that should be taught in schools when people are young, to make them understand that this isn't an eating disorder by any means. This is managing a big part of your life and how to set yourself up to be healthy. So it's just something that's been neglected. But I think that the way things are moving right now, that'll probably change. People are kind of becoming a little bit more woke to it. Coaches are helping to educate people. And because of that, fitness has come a long way. The whole industry has.
Yeah.
So,
And
but
it
this
is,
is
like
the
you mentioned,
beginning.
like the healthy fats, like I didn't know that when we were getting started, but learning more about how healthy fats can control inflammation in the body and how stress causes inflammation. So many people, I mean, we're not the only ones that have stress, right? Everybody has it. So if you know that there's something that you can actually fuel your body with that can help to heal that, great. Carbohydrates, everybody's afraid of carbs, and so many women brought up to like drop carbs, but carbs are what helps your thyroid. Carbs are what helps to recover the body. Carbs are what helps to give you energy and fuel. People at night are like, I'm craving carbs. You're craving carbs because your body needs energy. Your body sees you're going to stay awake. It's tired. There's a purpose and a reason. So if you understand that your body requires the nutrients and the types of nutrients and what their purpose is, okay, cool. If carbs are energy and recovery, I'm going to have those before my workout and after my workout. Fats are going to keep me fuller longer and they help with my hormones. Cool. Let me put that later in the night when I get hungry. Protein, that is going to help to keep me satiated. That's going to help keep my, being able to maintain and build muscle and keep me full. Cool. I'm going to keep that pretty consistent throughout the day. And that's why both Whitney and Count and everybody were mentioning protein is something that you should start with, because that is the most important one. You actually burn calories when you eat it. So,
Yeah.
just having an understanding of that, I think, is also key.
It kind of circles back around. I think a lot of people have heard this. This saying's been around forever, is that your diet is 80% of your results.
Absolutely.
And that's 100% true, 100% true. If the diet's not on point, you're very rare that you're going to see results from what you're doing. So if you take into account how big of a percentage that is, you understand why you have the importance of tracking it, and making sure that you get that right. So as much energy is put there or put into training should be put into the food as well. A lot of people spend a lot of money on personal trainers, but they don't do anything with the diet that's kind of backwards. And not against personal trainers. I was a personal trainer for a long time, but to have both, you want to marry the two,
But yeah,
So
I
don't
agree.
blame your trainer if you're not getting the results, if you're going out and eating Dunkin' Donuts right after the workout,
Yep. But it's 100% true, and I think a lot of people do get it so backwards and think like, well, I work out now, so
Yeah.
where are the results? But like I was saying before, I'm not training any harder now than I was before I started tracking and like in my 20s. But I look a lot better now than I did in my 20s because I've really honed in my nutrition and
More
track my
intentional.
macros,
Yeah.
so you can see my muscles. They were kind of there before, but like you can see them now. And it's really cool.
Amanda.
I think that from the psychological standpoint, a lot of people feel feelings of resentment around tracking. But really, what is not being taken into account is the fact that knowledge and education has moved forward and we have to move forward with it. So if you look at what we were doing in the phase, well, in the phase, doctors were smoking cigarettes in your face while they were examining you. And that was totally normal and acceptable. Also, the food pyramid was acceptable, and you were supposed to have like 15 servings of grains per day. But we've moved forward. So
I'm going
in
to
the
still go with
same,
that one. No, just kidding.
and that's also how I got to be 250 pounds. But people look at food differently as time passes. If we go back to caveman times, people are looking at food as energy source. They're not looking at, does this taste good? Is this gluten free? No, they're just going to kill whatever animal it is so that they can get whatever nourishment they can get. We have evolved past that at this point. We now have the knowledge around nutrition that we can break all our food down into these macronutrients and selectively choose how they impact us. So really, this is a form of power. We have power over what it is we're putting in our body and the results we get from that. But people feel resentful because we all grew up in a world where a serving was however much mom put on your plate, and you got most of your food during the day from a vending machine. And it was simpler then. It was better. Well, it may have been, but your insides were suffering. Now, you were a child or an adolescent, so maybe your insides weren't suffering in the same way that they suffer now. There's resentment there because we're
The damage is being
resentful.
made.
Right. It's like,
Well,
well, I used to do this and this was fine my whole life. So why do I have to track macros now? Well, there's lots of things in your life that you've had to adapt over time. A lot of people, as they age, need to get glasses oft or hearing aids. And we'll hear from those elderly people, I can see, I can drive, I can hear. No, you can't. We need to give you some assistance. So
Stop
that's what
yelling
the
at me.
macros are. Sorry, Calvin. um, I think that people look at it through the lens of it's being restrictive, but it's really providing, when I talk to my clients, it's providing education on what the body does. The number one thing my clients say to me when I do psychoeducation on nutrition is, wow, I had no idea that's what that did. Or I had no idea that almonds could help my hormone health, or whatever the case is, right? So you know, we're looking at things through a new lens. So we have to come to a new approach as well, which is that maybe I didn't know what I was supposed to be doing. Maybe this is a new way that could help me. It's not as delicious as a cheeseburger from McDonald's. But if your goal is to be healthier or more fit or have more muscle or lose more body fat or whatever that is, this is a tool that's going to allow you to do that.
and I think that resentment goes even further in like you're asking people to put in work. And that's why, and nobody come after me. I know nobody here is, but in general, that's why those diets where you cut out a whole food group, specifically carbs a lot of the time, but you can still eat your bacon cheeseburger, just take the bun off, are such popular diets because you don't really have to work.
Yep.
And so, yeah, you're cutting out carbs. You're going to drop water weight. You might even drop some inflammation, although, a lot of times it's not done
Properly.
right. And so you're not getting those healthy fats because you don't want to put in the extra work to make the healthy choices. And I think, that has a lot to do with it too.
Fortunately, I agree with you, Whitney. Unfortunately, we're in a society who looks for the easy out.
Right.
The pills. I mean, we've all seen Ozempic, Zepbound, and all of these things. Everybody's like, my magic pill is here. I don't need to worry about eating because I can eat whatever I want. And I'm just going to inject myself, or I'm going to take this daily pill, and all is right with the world. You're not learning. It's a crutch, and crutches will only get you so far until you start feeling the rubbing underneath your armpits from the crutches. And you're never going to get off that crutch and be able to walk on your own if that's what you're relying on. And part of learning about macros is learning how different macros, the 3 different macros, affect your body. Oftentimes people are like, oh, you're giving me fats, we're going to get fat. No, that's not what it is.
Lack of
But
knowledge.
Right. So, Amanda, to your point, educating people on what it does, like your almond example. Great example. People say, "Oh, almonds." Well, first of all, they're not okay. So that's good, but it's fat, so I'm going to get fat if I eat it. But explain to them what it actually is doing for their body, bro. To your point, when somebody needs carbs, your body needs energy. Carbs equals fat equals sugar. I'm going to get fat. No, it's explaining to them what the three different macros do for them versus a all right, I'm just going to eat my bacon cheeseburger without the bun. I'm going to take my Zep out.
Yeah.
But it's also to the point of what Amanda said. Again, if you want to every once in a while have a cheeseburger,
Yeah.
that's your fancy
Yeah.
pair of jeans.
Yeah.
You can
Right.
fit your fancy pair of jeans in,
Yeah.
but when you know, most of the days you want to have other foods because you want to have more volume. So it is a give and take. And that's another thing of macros of, again, if you're in a fat loss phase and you still want to have a piece of cake or a piece of something, have it, put it in. You're not going to have as much food. You're going to still be hungry, but
Right.
you want to have it, enjoy it, and then get back the next day and then put in the foods that you like, because that allows you also to not just eat chicken and broccoli and not
Right.
just have the same shit every day.
If you're
Which
on
is
point,
another really great thing about macros is like it actually gives you more freedom
More flexibility and options.
because we can all eat carbs and, we can eat cake sometimes and cut back, like you can kind of adjust the volume, so to speak, to what your day looks like. And if you're overall doing everything well, then you start to learn that you can make room for that. At my birthday's Friday, I'm going to have a piece of cake and I'll take it from other places. And
Yeah.
But it
you don't have
requires
to feel
thought.
guilty. Yep.
Yep.
but it's
That's
a
problem.
learned skill.
Yeah. Yep.
And it's a learned skill, and people have to see that to be able to trust it.
Yeah.
But if you're on point all of the week and you go out on a Saturday and just decide I'm just going to have some stuff, very slim chance that's going to come back to haunt you unless you go full gorilla. On that day you could go have a meal, and you'll be just fine. It's funny because my brother-in-law, Brooke's sister's husband, would always give me a hard time when we'd come out there because they at their, they have a house full of kids. So we were always there for parties, and they would get pizza time, pizza and ice cream cake and all this stuff. I'm like, come on, you guys are killing me. But when I would go over there, I would eat it, and Matt's like, gets so mad. He's like, how do you stay looking like that when you eat like this? And I'm like, well, that's the thing is I'm not normally eating like this. So when I come over here, I can eat like this. And I'm like, it's not going to affect me the same way. And 9 times out of 10, you look better the next day after doing that.
Some,
And so,
not
but
all.
that's the thing is it's people need to understand that it does, like when he said, it buys you freedom because you have a better understanding of it, And so in the beginning, it takes work because you have to learn the process, but it's not as hard as you think. Everything seems hard in the beginning, but once you get a grip on it and you get the wheels moving, it gets easier and easier. And then it becomes your lifestyle. It becomes a part of you. And you eventually don't have to think about it as much. So everybody that's on this panel call right now can go weeks, months without tracking. And we would say pretty close, and that's because we understand portion sizes and we see that, so that's an earned skill over time, but that's ultimately what people should work towards. You don't track forever. That's not something we want people to think. You track until you don't need to. And then when you get in a position where you need to track again, then you track again and get yourself back in a good position. And then you can stop tracking and intuitively off that. If you kind of think of it as intervals, that's probably the best way to do it because it's very healthy mentally to take a break from it. Do not track all the time, 365 days of the year, every year, because you'll lose your mind. Make sure you take breaks, Amanda.
Quick thought. Brooke knows I love my analogies with my people, and I'm listening to Calvin explain macros like this. And it occurs to me now, this might be an antiquated analogy that anybody Gen Z or below won't understand. But when we were kids and we went to school, we learned how to do math. And that at a certain point, they let us use a calculator. And we used the calculator, but we knew how to do the math by hand.
Yes.
So it's kind of the same thing, right? So like you have this tool, you have a calculator, and it's awesome. I can use it. It's great. But at the end of the day, if I leave my calculator at home, which doesn't happen anymore because it's in your phone, I can take a piece of paper or figure it out in my head because I have the skill.
Yes.
So it's like you have the opportunity to utilize the tool when you need it, but otherwise it's kind of just living in your brain and you can use it whenever you want to.
Yes. But you know that we can't do math, Amanda. But that was a
Yeah,
great
I
one.
mean, it was a hypothetical.
But wait, do they let you use calculators now?
Yeah, they don't learn how to use their phones have. What do you mean? Of course their phones have calculators.
They don't make them keep their phones away? I don't know. Mine are
Wait till your kids grow up. Yeah.
Wait
No,
for it.
they're
okay. Okay. I was like, wait.
It's yourself. Just bring it.
Yeah, no, it's not. And now we're looking at that like,
So
what do you mean they
help
don't
me.
know how to do math? Well, that's what
Yeah.
happens when you don't use your brain and you use the tool too much.
Yeah. Well, I didn't use the tool. I still don't know math, but here we are. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much. I think these definitely gave a lot of great information for people. So I hope you all enjoyed. If you wouldn't mind, we would truly, truly appreciate it if you would drop us a review. And if you have any other suggestions or things you'd like us to chat about, please drop it in the comments. And until next time, adios. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to Master Your Metabolism. If you found value in today's episode, it would mean the world to us if you'd hit subscribe and share this episode with someone who could use a little guidance in their health journey. Ready to take the next step? Head over to www.mastersfitnesscoaching.com and you can book a free call right from the site so we can chat about your goals and how we can help support you. Don't forget to join our Facebook group where we're sharing coaching tips, support, and tricks to help keep you on track and continue making progress. You don't have to do this alone. We're here to walk with you every step of the way. Until next time, stay consistent, stay kind to yourself, and keep mastering your metabolism. Let's do this together.